I know you're a big fan of the Dakar, Brad. So that's going to be a great session.
Yeah, I am. I mean, what a fascinating event and what a fascinating history. And to think where this has started, where it's evolved, where it is now, it is just incredible to watch. And you talk about true endurance. I think this embodies every bit of it.
Excellent. So we're bringing Adrien on with us, and we have a short video. So why don't we just run the video while Adrien joins us, and we will be right back. So let's get.
Wow. That is incredible. Again, I've talked about this before. I'm a big fan of Dakar. Obviously, I love the motorcycle side of thing, but the whole off-road side of thing. And Adrian is joining us right now. What a great way to start this webinar. What a level of excitement, anticipation, and everything else that you have coming up, starting right after the first of the year. How you doing?
Hi, Brad. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's indeed a very intense period of the year because we are approaching Dakar, which, I mean, the event will kickstart in four weeks roughly. We had a big week last week in Barcelona where the whole starts, I mean, in a way, Dakar starts to the last week in Barcelona with the boarding of all the vehicles from Europe heading to Saudi Arabia. And we also presented officially Dakar 2025 route last week. So all those new fresh video contents, starting with the one we just showed, have been released last week, promoting our event and our sport.
Yeah, it starts January 3rd, goes through the 17th, 12 stages throughout Saudi Arabia, where you guys have been since 2020. Planning this route, so much goes into this. I mean, everything that we're talking about, whether it be race teams or racetrack promoters or things like that, a lot of these are fixed places, meaning it's a permanent facility, it's a street course or something that has a start finish line that we keep going round and round. Obviously, Dakar is so much different than that. What goes into planning the route?
Planning the route is a whole year work. We have teams that start recce's starting in end of February, early March, and we have a team that goes there for 2 weeks every month, roughly. Except during very warm months, usually in Saudi Arabia, it's hard to access and it's hard to work there around June, July, August. Those are the 3 months where it's a bit complicated. So it's a whole year-round work. We have a dedicated team building the route. David Castera, who's the Dakar director, always has brilliant ideas to complicate it from year in to year out. But that's also the magic of the sports, and we also need to reinvent ourselves like in any other sport and bring some novelties one year to the other. Specifically last year, we launched a new concept called the 48-hour chrono, which was a very big success, and which the idea was really to bring back to the old roots of Dakar spirit, with a two-day stage, some checkpoints and break zones where you had to stop after a certain hour in one break zone, and you need to sleep there in a tent, eat military rations, and take the road and start your stage the next day from your break zone. So going back to the old school Dakar camping style.
Wow, that is really neat, and I love the way you guys are bringing a lot of things back, if you will. In fact, there was even I guess if you would, a classics class that's out there right now, a stock category. What can you tell us about that?
So indeed, in the Dakar, first of all, it's a mixture of categories. So it's probably one of the only events with as many different categories. So we have obviously the bikes. Then we have two classes in the bikes. Actually, we have the elite class, which is the Rally GP, which are mainly the professional riders with backed by professional manufacturers. And then we have the Rally 2 class, which is slightly a lower spec bike, which is open to amateurs. And then we have the FIA categories with the ultimate class, which is the main car prototype, Challenger, which is a side by side, and the SSV, which is a basic stock UTV. And finally, we have the stocked category, which is actually a new class. It's not a new class; it's always been around, but it's lacked of, let's say, um, popularity in a way. So we've been working quite hard during the past 18 months with the FIA to review those stock regulations and make it more accessible for manufacturers. It's basically, the idea is really to have, let's say, to homologate for racing a standard car which just has the basis to do off-road. And the idea is to really relate between everyday vehicles that we can find in an everyday commerce, but also in the Dakar. And manufacturers are actually quite interested in that category because they want to showcase for the Dakar Rally, and like in any motorsport, their everyday vehicle that they try to sell to everyday people. So interesting new category, but we won't see much this year about it. It's more 2026.
Ah, okay. That's really interesting. And you bring up something, Adrien, that you know, a lot of the racing series that we talk to, they're racing the same cars. They might have different OEM manufacturers or some different specs with things like that, or maybe it's a sports car with a couple of different classes or categories. I mean, we're talking about different classes, different categories, different types of vehicles, two wheel, four wheel, so on and so forth. How do you manage the regulations in that, and scrutinizing and everything else that has to go on? Did we lose you?
Yeah, no, I lost you. I didn't
Oh,
hear
okay.
you. So yeah.
That's okay. I was asking about so many different types of vehicles, and when it comes to all the regulations with each one and the scrutineering and different things that go on with that, how do you manage that in Dakar?
Well, it's first of all, we have a general classification by each class. Even though there is a scratch ranking, obviously there are let's say the most elite categories in the bike. As I said, it's the Rally GP class, and in the FIA categories, it's the ultimate class, which are the main prototypes. Who obviously have more power and they also have the more professional drivers, so they tend to go faster, so they score the fastest time. But we also have a dedicated ranking in each category and a dedicated regulation that's published year in and year out by the FIA. So it's the International Automobile Federation, with who we work on detailed regulations year in year out. So all those vehicles are inspected during scrutineering at the start of the race, like in any motorsport event, and they're also inspected at the end in order to, let's say, assess sporting fairness and that everyone follows regulations. And so, yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. By the way, I want to encourage anyone who's viewing us live right now. If you do have a question about Dakar, a question for Adrien, feel free to type it into the chat. We definitely want to be able to cover the things that you want to know about and the things that you want to talk about as well. We talked about planning the route. You talked about how that went. Now, how about the logistics of this? When people set off for their deal, we're talking long distances in this very, very, very much endurance event, and a lot of challenge with the length of the course and all of that, some of the things that can happen along the way. How do you manage the logistics of that, from making sure everyone gets through? If they don't, they've got the help. What goes on with that?
So yeah, it's Dakar is a very complex event, and so we have a great team here that's used to organizing Dakar. But it's hard to imagine what Dakar looks like without seeing it once in your life, because logistically it's crazy. We're talking 3,500 people, 440 vehicles racing, plus all the assistance truck on the top. It's a small village in the middle of the desert, and everyone moves nearly every day with a road section of roughly 300 to 400 miles on a daily basis. So it's huge distances. The racing is very intense. We're talking 15 days racing, roughly 500 miles per day. We have 15 choppers dedicated to race organization, with 10 that are really dedicated to medical, and the five others, well, one's dedicated for race operations, and the four others are for TV. We also have a team of 300 people that are working on our TV programs, and we managed to air a daily 52 minutes summary program of the race day to 190 countries every evening at 7 p.m., which is broadcasted around the world. And which is the main daily highlights of Dakar. So yeah, logistically, it's quite crazy. In the desert, some areas with no network. We use satellite connection, obviously. All the racers are tracked by our race HQ team, who basically guarantees and has an eye on all competitors in order to be sure that everyone's safe. Every time a car or a bike stops for any reason, they are actually aware of it and they can enter in communication with the competitor. So everything is well guarded. It's a bit we actually work a bit in as a military operation. So we have some military keywords, etc. And we use a lot radio, and talking clearly and specifically on radio is very important, not to lose time. So yeah, it's a big operation.
Yeah, that you know what? That sounds fascinating, even bigger than maybe what some people might realize. How many different teams are there? Let's just say, like with the bivouac, you have people leapfrogging each other, and tearing down one here one day and going 3 stages down the way. How does that work?
I mean, in terms of, I mean, first of all, it's, as I said, it's a small village. Obviously, people do Dakar with different budgets. It's Thierry Sabine, who's the creator of Dakar, used to say that Dakar is an event and a sport for amateurs open to professionals. And it's still real today. I mean, out of 440 vehicles taking the start, 80% are amateurs, pure amateurs that just want to live the dream of Dakar and the adventure of Dakar. The professional teams represent, yeah, probably, I mean, the real professional manufacturing teams are roughly 10%. Then you have a bunch of structured semi-pro teams, and the rest offering services, and the rest are amateurs. So it's different structures. Obviously, professional teams, they have their paddock area that's very, very clean, very big, very well organized. They bring very, very big trucks that open themselves, and it's very, very supervised. And in the amateurs, it's just a basic tent, toolbox, vehicle, maybe a few assistance crew, and they just go on and live the adventure.
Yeah, that's really neat. You mentioned the broadcast for it every day and all of the different countries. I know here in the United States, I can watch it on MAP TV.
Yeah.
Or you can watch it in a lot of different places. Again, with so many different media partners. Adrian, can you tell us about the challenges and making sure what's happening in Saudi Arabia next month gets broadcast all over the world and has several outlets to do that? How does that work?
So how does that work? So we at ASO, we don't only organize Dakar, we organize a bunch of different events. No, also specifically in cycling, we organize and broadcast and do the production for the Tour de France also. So we have a dedicated team internally to TV. One part for the production, the other part for the distribution of rights. And so we've been working. We have connections with main worldwide broadcasters um, since a long time, and so it's usually the same that usually and get in contact with us to broadcast Dakar. And Dakar is it's one of the main motorsports meetings of the year, and even though it's not an easy sport to follow because it's long and we cannot keep track and have a live of every competitor. It wouldn't be logistically possible because we have 440 vehicles in the middle of the desert at the same time. We cannot keep track of everyone. So it's, let's say, a daily summary, and we try to bring to those TV contents also a lot of images and stories of behind the scenes. And you probably know better than I do. Today, that's what the end consumer is looking for. Yes, they like to watch a football match, a tennis match, but nowadays the younger generation tend to think that those TV live matches are too long, and people are saying that yes, a 5-set tennis match in Grand Slam is very long, and people are not as patient as before, and so they are more attached to, let's say, the human adventure, the behind the scenes, the let's say all the backside stories of athletes. And Dakar is probably one of the events with the most crazy human stories and adventure, where competitors help each other, get into some trouble, get lost, spend the night in the middle of the desert. and out of 400 vehicles taking the starts, there are always crazy stories, and it's that's also what we try to keep track of in our daily TV programs, and I believe this manages to keep the hook of our end consumers.
Yeah, what a great thing to bring up because realistically, I mean, this is look, the adventure that we get to see, and especially with the incredible footage that your team puts together and the whole team puts together, is just awesome. Because you really see what's going on out there, and I feel like you get at least a good sense that you can from your couch or wherever you're watching what's going on. But it's a human interest story behind it all, and I don't want to use the word reality TV because it's not that; it's so much more to literally tell the story. And I think that's what's important, really, in any sporting event. But part of the story of Dakar is not necessarily what happens out there in the desert while they're traveling so far and during the endurance event, but what happens around all of that. What happens when they get back at night before they start and everything. And it's
Yeah.
the great TV partners too. Some great web content as well. The YouTube page and the app and everything is just—it's incredible what you guys are putting out there.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there are the TV products that are slightly, adapted for TV broadcasters, but we indeed try to be quite impactful on social media and on digital platforms such as YouTube, where we also adapt a daily summary adapted for social media, which is slightly shorter. As I said, the TV program is 52-minute long. Our digital daily summary is roughly 10, 13 minutes long. So it's a condensed summary, obviously with less stories because we try to cover the sporting aspects, um, but and keep the storylines for TV broadcast. But yeah, a lot of content on social media on the Dakar channels. So stay tuned and subscribe to the Dakar channels on Facebook and Instagram to keep updated.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Can we talk about the World Rally Raid Championship as well a little bit? What can you tell us about that?
Yep. We've launched the World Rally Raid Championship 3 years ago with the FIA and the FIM. It's basically a World Series of rally raids, so the discipline of Dakar. Discussions started roughly 4 or 5 years ago with the FIA, and this World Rally Raid Championship, obviously, main event is Dakar Rally, and there's a few comparisons to the WEC, so the World Endurance Championship, where you have the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which is the main race, and the others during the season, but which still represent a good opportunity for main professional teams to be able to race all year long and get some visibility. And so that's what we are trying on building with the W2RC, where we give the opportunity to our main manufacturers to compete all year long in a world championship, where we crown one world champion in the FIA category and one world champion in the FIM category. This world championship consists of 5 rounds around the world. So calendar does change 1 year to another year. So we regularly go to South America, which is a big area for rally raid, as Dakar has been around for 10 years or so. We have a race in Morocco. We have a race next year in South Africa. We have one in the Middle East in the Emirates. And we also have a race in Portugal, which is slightly different, faster, and a bit closer to WRC, let's say. But it was important to have a race in Europe for proximity with fans, sponsors, and teams. And so this championship is promoted by us as we organize the Dakar Rally, and so are experts in the discipline, with the help, obviously, of the FIA and the FIM. We work closely, and it's been growing. Dakar has the biggest weight, obviously, but it's proven to be very useful for teams or even competitors wanting to participate in the Dakar. Participating in some races of the World Championship is the best training, because we've managed to, with this championship, to up the level of the sport by proposing races around the world that are at Dakar standards in terms of safety, in terms of sporting organization, and in terms of promotion. So it's in a way been very useful to up the level of the sport in that way.
Does something like that also help bring in some of the manufacturers or different suppliers who might want a little bit more, might have a capacity to be able to do more than just the Dakar Rally? What has that done?
Yeah, I mean, it has through different ways. Number one, definitely promotion all year long. Having different races gives more images, more action, and so visibility. Also, some of those teams have a big client program where they have some customers that want to race, and so it gives them more opportunity to propose customer racing. Um, and also clearly the level. Dakar is harder and harder. 50% of competitors do not finish Dakar, which is a huge, crazy stat. And the level has been growing, and the performance of the vehicles also. And clearly, training and being prepared for Dakar is key. And so, regularly racing in Dakar standard events is the best training possible.
Yeah, that's a great point. Beyond Dakar itself, talk about a couple of other initiatives as well. I mean, obviously, you guys are literally racing all around Saudi Arabia. But what can you tell us about some of the other initiatives like Responsible Dakar or Mission 1000?
Yeah, so it's obviously, as any motorsport event, a key, let's say, mission and challenge for us is really to build on a responsible event and a responsible race. So we launched 2 years ago the concept of Dakar Future Mission 1000, which actually implements itself in the Dakar Future vision that we had exposed in early 2020s. The idea of Mission 1000 is, first of all, it's not a race, it's a challenge for technology. And the idea was really to create a laboratory for future and innovative research and development vehicles and also engines to get the opportunity to showcase those innovations on the Dakar stage. So we wanted to attract those new projects. However, with Dakar being harder, being tougher, being longer, technology cannot keep up still today, unfortunately, specifically in the middle of the desert where logistically everything is more complicated. So Mission 1000 is, let's say, um, a dedicated route that's adapted to those technologies, and 1000 because it's experienced 100 kilometers of Dakar route every day for 10 days for a total of roughly 1,000 kilometers. Having spoken to several manufacturers that have interesting projects, clearly today the autonomy of those vehicles in tough terrain is roughly 100 miles. It's hard to propose more. So the idea was really to launch a dedicated itinerary where those vehicles and those technology would be able to showcase their performance in their own challenge. And we don't put upfront the people, but we really try and educate around the technology, the performance, and the story behind of the mechanics working on this new technology, and obviously relating it to the innovations in the real world and what we see nowadays developing in cities. So three group of energies within Mission 1000: hydrogen, electric, and hybrid.
That's really neat. We have a quick question from the chat, if you don't mind, Adrian. Do you see any more crossover of, say, score off-road teams, or maybe any of the other off-road events transitioning with Dakar as well?
That's a very interesting point, and actually myself have been to the Baja 500 in Mexico this year, where I met the organization of Score. I was very impressed, by the way, of the standard of the events there. Obviously, it's very different. Dakar is an extreme event of its own, but Score also different public. We are trying to work on some crossovers. I've kept contact with them. Regulations are make it a bit difficult still today, but the level is there, and hopefully having now the World Rally Raid Championship, it's a good excuse to possibly have a race of this championship in North America, which would represent a good opportunity to link both events through this through the championship. But we welcome any score regular to come and participate to Dakar. There are plenty of options and plenty of European teams that could propose services. You don't need to bring your truck from the US because this could be a logistic headache. and there are some options. So feel free to contact us and see what's possible.
Well, that's wonderful. I know Dakar starts 1 month from today, January 3rd, goes through the 17th. But in closing, definitely want to remind everyone, great YouTube channel, great app, all the different things. There's so much happening between now and then, and really incredible the content that you push out and the event that you guys put on. Thank you so much.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Looking for a quick fix of motorsports news? The Speed Sport Daily is what you need. It's a free racing newsletter delivered directly to your email every day. We'll cover the winners and the losers and tell you who's making news off the track. It's NASCAR, NHRA, World of Outlaw, IndyCar, and so much more. Go to speedsport.com today and get signed up for America's free racing newsletter and get your daily motorsports fix. The Speed Sport Daily.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
Scott Lewis & Associates, the sales, marketing, and branding specialist for the automotive performance industry since 1988. We get our manufacturers on track by opening an extensive distribution network, providing product training to sales staff, creating fully integrated sales and marketing strategies, building successful industry partnerships, attending trade shows, events, and races, offering first-class support to customers. SLAI delivers solutions that win you sales. To get in touch with an SLAI representative, call 516-378-6100. Go to scottlewisinc.com or email info@scottlewisinc.com.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crowder Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crowder Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crowder Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crowder, victory is within your reach.
For over 25 years, Wisconsin-based C-Tech Manufacturing has been engineering and manufacturing the toughest, most accessible aluminum tool drawers, cabinets, carts, and tactical storage solutions for America's hardest working professionals. Whatever you need to store and however you need to store it, put your trust in C-Tech Manufacturing. We build it better. Visit our new website at ctechmanufacturing.com or give us a call at 715-355-8842.
If you're watching this video, you might be wondering, what is WPC? WPC is a surface treatment designed to reduce friction and increase the strength of metal parts. As much as it might seem like a coating, WPC is actually a surface treatment. Think of it like shot painting, but the media is much finer, like talc. So what you're left with is a super hard, smooth surface that actually has some proprietary dry lubricants embedded within it. For more information, visit WPCtreatment.com.